Can you take me back when we were just kids? We weren't scared of getting older, yeah. 'Cause no one knows you like they know you, and no one probably ever will. You can grow up, make new ones, but truth is, there's nothing like old friends. No one knows you like they know you, and no one probably ever will. You can grow up, make new ones, but the truth is that we grow up, then wish we could go back then. There's nothing like old friends. 'Cause you can't make old friends.
Welcome to the show that has little to no meaning and makes little to no sense. It is the show where you can expect the unexpected. This is nonsensical talk on the air and in the cloud. Those crazy hosts will talk about anything and everything. And now, from their home studios in Middle Tennessee, here is your hosts, Alan Robertson and Joey Smith.
All right, welcome to show number 3. Guess what you're eating? And we have been eating down in Lafayette, Kentucky this past month, and we did our live or our broadcast there. I should say we recorded it live, but we recorded it to play it now, and we can't wait. Becky East has a great little restaurant down there. And she agreed to allow us to come into all that history.
Everyone listening, everyone watching, each March I watch March Madness. And I watch the national championship. I wish Kentucky was in there, but they're not in there. But I watch till the very end of it so I can watch One Shining Moment sung by Luther Vandross. One shining moment, and it's like, a collage of all the highlights from the NCAA March Madness tournament and the Sweet 16, and one shining moment. The folks watching right now, you're going to want to watch till the very end, just like One Shining Moment, because this show here has so many highlights in it. It's got conversations with Becky. We go remotely to Lafayette, and we go around Lafayette. We take a drone view of Lafayette. We have conversations with folks in the restaurant history, folks born in 1935 that they'll just tell us about how Lafayette had 10 doctors and they had like 6 grocery stores, and it was bigger than Chicago at one time. And
Yes,
so,
it was.
But the very end of this, you're going to want to see our one shining moment of some clips to our song. So we've got a great show for you guys today, and I'll just tell you that it's one of our favorites, and we like them all, but there's so many favorite parts to this show here, and it's going to be a treat. And we're glad that we're recording these things because we're recording history. We're not going to be here forever. Marc's not going to be here forever. Becky, Mr. Boy Green's not going to be here forever. We're glad we capture those stories. You're going to hear those stories, folks. And you're going to want to share those stories. Share us on YouTube. Like us on YouTube. Get others to follow. Say, let me see your phone. Hit the follow button on their phone. Hit the share button
Subscribe
on
to
their phone
us.
and the like button.
Yes.
We're on all the different podcast apps, Spotify, whatever app you name, we're on that.
iHeartRadio, one of the biggest podcasts.
iHeartRadio, we're Nonsensical Talk. We're on it. Al and I, we've been friends for on the upper side of getting close to 40 years, and we have 40 years of stories and funny stories, touching stories. Ran across a lot of good people, and both veterans.
We're still running across the great people. We're still running across.
We never
people.
stopped. So never stopped.
That's right.
So we appreciate everyone out there. You want to support great content like this, 2 veterans and 2 friends. We appreciate you.
Very much so. Joey, we're going to send it out there. We're going to play the recording now. We're going to start off with Angela, Mark, and you and I. So here we go. Hey, welcome to show number 3, where we're doing it from Lafayette, Kentucky. We've got over here beside me Mr. Joey Smith. Beside him's Mark Thomas, and then my sister, Angela Brown, is all the way at the end of the table. I almost called her Angela Robertson. Did that for so long. Anywho, now we're getting ready to start up our show number 3. Becky East was kind enough to let us sit up down here in her wonderful place. You need to get down here. You need to eat some breakfast, but I'm going to tell you what, it was off the chain this morning.
Hi, Becky.
Hey, Becky.
Hey, Becky. She's over there.
Kathy.
We're going to get her on this side here in a little bit, but right now we're just going to start the show and kind of talk about things we want to talk about because remember, it's nonsensical, so it doesn't matter what you talk about. But talking with Angela, she has brought up so many things that have happened in our past, but they're all about Joey. So they're nothing about me. Well, we're just going to leave some of them about me, but we're not going to. Now, probably all of them, but I'm not going to tell those. But the greatest one that she brought up was whenever I guess I had already gone into the service, and Joey was getting ready to go into the service, and he stayed with them one night and was going to make some breakfast for them. Angela, why don't you tell us what he did on that breakfast?
So,
I'm going to try not to look at you.
so what happened was he was playing a game with Ricky. They were playing Tecmo Bowl in the living room, and he said, I don't know, had I had the baby or
You were pregnant with Harley.
And I got
So
sick a
Harley
lot.
got the benefit of this
So I was
this
pregnant.
gravy that I made.
I was pregnant with Harley, and Joey said, or I guess I must have said, I'm going to go make some breakfast. And Joey said, I can make some gravy for you all. I was like, okay, because I don't really know how to make gravy. And this gravy, I went in there, and he kept saying, you're just going to add some milk and some flour and some water. It's going to be great. So the longer it went on, the thicker it got. And the harder it got. So when we were making our plates, Ricky comes in there and grabs the spoon. And he takes a spoon, and the gravy wouldn't even come off the spoon. It was so thick.
I meant to ask you how many slices of gravy do you want?
That is the God.
And I cut it with a butter knife, like
Put it on your bread.
like you would do brownies.
Right.
Would you like a slice of gravy?
Ricky said, "What's wrong with the gravy?"
Gravy patty.
I don't know. Joey made it.
The viscosity was not 10W5 or 10W20. It was a little bit. It was a little thicker viscosity there. And, they were just not used to vehicles that have like 200,000 miles on it.
They wasn't used to gravy being as hard as a steak, so they were really having like a steak biscuit, but it was a gravy biscuit, so it didn't fall off, right?
I think we had to put water in the gravy, and it had to sit there for a few days before I could wash the pan.
Like, cut it with a fork. Get you. Keep chewing.
I don't think Ricky even had any of the gravy.
And Ricky's just sitting there like, it's not really breaking down in my mouth.
I'm pretty sure though Ricky gave you a hard time. I thought you said you could make gravy. Joey's like, I could.
Hey, it was made, and Harley's had healthy kids, and so
It was.
I'm not going to take credit for this, but Angela ate the gravy, and she was pregnant with Harley, and there's outcomes is what I look at, and Harley's very healthy. She has kids herself that are healthy, and so if you want brownie type gravy.
Call Joey.
He's got the recipe.
Becky's, brick oven grill and deli will not hire me down here, but
Their gravy's a slight bit better.
Their gravy was
yeah,
delicious. You
like
should have.
it could actually pour over the biscuit.
Yeah,
Maybe,
pour over the
maybe
biscuit.
you should have went
Mine
back
was
there
like,
and said,
mine was
Becky.
like the patty of sausage that you put on the biscuit.
Well, you should have asked Becky if you could have. Hey, Becky, could you teach me how to make
the
that
gravy.
Yeah.
That wouldn't work well.
I think it'll just mess me up is what would happen. And,
I think your wife would have you start cooking then.
yeah,
So you don't want to learn.
there's a very good chance of that.
That's fun. But that's neither here nor there. So some of the other stuff that can be,
Right.
what's that? Mark, you got to talk into the mic. We're not hearing that one.
Yeah,
I didn't want nobody to hear that.
There's some side.
That was an Angela only
There's
moment.
some side talk here going on, but
An Angela only moment. See,
Angela, we tried to do our best in the last show to talk about the Myrtle Beach
That was
trip.
in the first show.
Right.
But the thing is, you only have two minds there, and if we had one more mind that remembered things, we would up our storytelling capabilities by 50% just by
Right.
having another person, another perspective there. And what did we miss?
Oh, first of all, it was June, right?
It
June
was,
of 1990.
Yep.
I graduated at the end of May, so it was kind of my senior trip. I don't know why our parents, I would have let Harley or Shane go to
Well,
the
wait a
beach.
minute. I think it was July because I left to go into the military August 13th, and that
Maybe
was
it
the
was
trip.
July.
That was
Maybe
the
it
trip
was.
before. Yep, that was the trip before I went into the Navy.
Yeah. And we all went down there, had a great time. But when you all talked about my purse, when I lost my purse, it wasn't as calm as y'all said it was.
Okay.
My brother got very mad, instantly started yelling at me.
I don't remember that.
Yes, he did. And I started hitting the back of his seat. And Ricky and Joey were over here. And it was crickets. Not a word.
We were like this.
Ricky didn't even tell me to be quiet. He knew I was so upset. Because I was I wasn't concerned about all of our money that was in the purse. I was worried about my pictures in the purse and all my personal belongings.
Not that $600 that we had
Yeah,
to run
not
around with.
all our grocery money. Mark, you went to Trig.
right? I was true.
You missed out on all the fun on the school bus. And we were all talking one morning on the bus, and I don't know how, what, when.
I remember it.
But somehow or another, I really don't remember how
We
the
were
story
talking.
went.
So what it was we were talking about the twins,
Jim and Joe.
our cousins, Jim
from
and Joe
South
down in South
Carolina.
Carolina, and how they didn't say they had to go poop
Poop.
or they did anything. They
But
had
it
to go
was
stinky.
stinky.
Well, Joey doesn't. He doesn't
He didn't
talk
talk
about
a
it.
lot.
I
He
listened.
didn't talk a lot.
He listened.
listened, but when he talked, it usually was to embarrass the crap out of someone. And that someone that morning that he was going to embarrass happened to have been at the other end of this table. And so that kept going, and then you got to realize
Got to Christian County High School.
We lived down here in Lafayette, which was a 35-minute bus ride to Christian County, which was on the north side of Hoptown. So we went past Hopkinsville High School over to county. There's a lot of talking on the bus. Well, another part of the communication happened to have been I had a speech problem. I still have one. If you hear me say, in the last podcast, I said breakfast, and I said breakfast instead of breakfast like you're supposed to say. So I've got a speech impediment. And back then, I couldn't say Angela. And part of this conversation, I don't know how both of these got tied into the same bus trip, but I called her Lola instead of Angela because I couldn't say Angela. So I called her Lola. Joy again. Crickets.
Not a word
Not a word.
on the bus.
Lola.
I was not around, but I wished I was on the hall that morning when Joy began to yell something.
Oh, wait, I can tell
So
this.
this is where it comes in. And
It's like about 30 people out here in the hall at Christian County High School. I was in my locker. All of a sudden I hear, "Hey, Lala." And I'm like, And as I turn around, it's Joey, and he's got his hand up. He's like, I got a stinky Lala. I went, what? Literally crawled into the locker like, this is not happening.
Oh, Lord.
Cannot be happening. Probably I was a junior in high school. Like, cannot make that up.
So basically what we're saying is my actions were memorable.
Oh, Joey.
Yes.
Joey, a lot of your actions were
And
memorable, buddy.
timing, the thinking from comedic timing standpoint,
30 people.
that we're talking about it.
Yep.
36 years later.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you were on that hall that morning and you remember that,
Yeah.
hey, comment and say, do you remember it?
I remember being on. Was it the 300 hall?
It was the 200 hall. Never will forget it. Dawn Trent was right here, and my locker was right over here when you yelled, "Hey, Lala!" Hand up, and I'm like, "Oh my God, no, he's not talking to me." Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Couldn't get in the locker. It was too small, or I would have crawled in the locker.
That's fun.
And I missed out on y'all talking about Joey and his driving because OMG.
Like so fast.
Like, yeah, like,
hang on.
And that makes it so funny that we talk like that because Shane's best friend was Thomas Foles, and Arlie rode with them, and she was like, oh my God, he drives so fast. And I'm like, why can't people drive more like Alan's friend? And he drove like 20 miles an hour everywhere he went. And we'd be like, Joey, come on, we really got to go. No, Joey would never go any faster.
That 35
Angela,
mile an
there
hour
are
to
people
Hoptail.
that have told my wife that we have to leave the house at a certain time of the day because when your husband leaves, we don't want to get behind him or we'll be late for work or late for school. There's this truck that pulls out of your driveway that if we get behind that truck, it goes the speed limit and we're in a hurry. And so my reputation is in Clarksville also.
So the question I have to ask though, do you go the speed limit now?
Okay, here's a funny thing. About 15 years ago, I got a speeding ticket going 30 something in a 25.
Uh-oh.
I got a speeding ticket. The only time I've ever had one in my life. And so, like, I got home and I was just like, Heather, I got a speeding ticket. And I was telling her where I was going, and I was going 30 something in a 25. And she said, "Did you tell the officer that was the fastest you've ever been in your life?" Like the wind was like I was about to go back in time if I had a flux capacitor. And
okay, I believe it.
I love it.
Did they give
sparks
you
were
a ticket?
Yes. They needed money that month. is what they needed. Like, yes.
I would say so too.
I should have went in front of the court and just said, I absolutely was doing 37. Please throw the book at me, sir.
Take my $115. I know the speed limit said 30.
Of course, Molly and Trey, the fun thing I like to do to them is when they are in a hurry, but we could have left on time. And, I'm one of those that can go out and wait in the car. Like, I'm ready. And then come out and want me to drive like a certain amount of speed. And I'm like, oh, no.
No.
And so like, come on, hurry up. And I'm like, well, hang on. I'm about to take a curve here. We're going 21 on that curve. Come on.
Well, I know here in Lafayette, he was doing 10 mile an hour, and he never went above 10 mile an hour in Lafayette. That was horrible.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, 10
For
mile
sure.
an hour. And then when he got to the city limits, he went to 30. And it's like,
You know,
dude,
when
really?
Will Smith came out with Summertime
Oh, my
and he
God.
said 10 miles an hour so everybody sees you.
Everybody could walk past
when
you,
you're
Joey.
creeping, and I had Fuzzy Bourne's truck. I had
Well, Fuzzy didn't drive
Fuzzy
very
didn't
much
drive
higher. I mean, yeah, faster than that either. So
That's
I think you could
I was
almost
trying
run
to
past her to
honor,
school.
trying to honor Will Smith and Fuzzy Bourne, and boy, Gene Hancock, he was proud of me on that
Oh,
because he
yeah.
drove slow also.
yeah, he was
and,
a slower. Yeah.
and he's like,
Yeah.
Joey, you and I would never make money if we were in the trucking business, and so he was honest about it.
And so, of course, I went into the Navy. She went to Hoptown, and Joey later on followed back into the Navy. And Mark went to college and became a baseball semi-pro. Semi-pro.
A baseball semi.
Baseball
Semi-pro.
semi-pro. And he
He just
Professional.
played baseball.
he played. What was it for the shotguns?
The rifles.
The rifles.
rifles.
I knew it was a gun. I
That
just
was-
couldn't remember.
Pick up on
Now I left Lafayette. I didn't. I went to. My husband went into the military, but I had to come back to the stomping grounds to raise the children.
We were living in Memphis whenever Ricky got out of the service, and they loaded up the old Penske truck, drove all the way across country, and they stopped at our house. And it was in the summertime, and God loved the little children. My nephew Shane was sick
I love the
as
little
a-
children.
My nephew Shane was sick as a dog, and before it was all over and said and done, he ended up getting everybody sick as a dog. But come to find out, it happened before he even got there. But the funny part is during the summertime, it was like 80 degrees outside, and they were wearing sweats, jackets, and I mean, it was like, really? I'm sitting here sweating from the sun, and they're wrapped up like they're going outside. It's 55-degree weather outside.
Your body gets adapted to that kind of climate. Like when we would call back home and be speaking to Daddy, and he's like, "Well, how's the weather?" It was 75 degrees, and we're all bundled up in jackets. And Dad would be like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "It was cold. I mean, it was chilly. We're used to 120-degree weather, not 75-degree weather."
That's
So,
awesome.
And talk about talking. When we moved to Arizona and we would call back here to our friends, Vicky was one of the worst. Hello, and you're just like, oh my God, do I sound like that? Yeah, we did. We sounded just like that.
Look, when I was stationed over in Sicily, I would call home and talk to Mom and Dad, and when I got off the phone, I'd go back over and start talking to people. They said, "Did you just call home?" I'm like, "Why?" They said, "Because your accent changes when you call
Right.
home. You start talking country again, and then it takes a couple of weeks to get it out of you, and it's like, what? And there is no way." Yeah, it is. I was like crazy. That was
you
funny.
do. You talk and your body gets adapted to that weather as well. So
Well, fun.
I call it relaxed talking. is the thing is that when I was in the Navy, I was like the only guy from the South on our ship, and there was like one other guy that was from East Tennessee there, and they were like, if your last name's Smith, they're going to call you Smitty if you're in the Navy, and they're like, hey, where are you from? Well, there's a guy from East Tennessee here, and so. That was like the only other person that talked the way I talk, and
Relaxed.
so I was surrounded by not traditional what we would think of Yankees, but just Midwestern and folks that did not have a Southern drawl.
So they didn't have that northern accent or that southern accent. They just had nothing.
And but they would certainly let me know that I have it because they would say, "Hey, say something," and then they'd say, "Well, I don't know about that." So then I realized that we draw out several of our words, and
oh yeah, when I went to Phoenix, to Arizona, that's where everybody. Are you from Kentucky? I'm like, how do you know that? You'll talk. When Alan went into the Navy, though, he met his wife Shawn, and
Now she's not going to appreciate this.
well, it's not
bit.
true, so it's okay.
Okay.
It's not true. But anyways, Alan called Mom, and he was like, "I've met somebody," and Mom was like, she was so excited, and he was like, "But here's just a little thing about her," and Mom's like, "What is it?" And he was like, "She's older than me." So you picture older 10, 15, 20 years. And then when we finally met Sean, she wasn't old. I mean, she wasn't old. How much? 5 years?
5 years, yeah.
She's 5 years older than Alan, and she looked younger
You
than
look
Alan.
younger than
Yeah, she looked younger than Alan then. She looks younger than Alan now. So see,
That's
maybe Sean. But she's old.
She's older than me.
So we really were picturing like old, like
So
gray-headed.
when I do the editing to this part, I might have to. But if I have to put it in, she brought it up. I didn't.
But she's not old.
I know she's not old. She's young, and she's just turned 29 back in July, right
That's
before
right.
you turned 29.
Angela, we don't care if he leaves it in or not because we love you, Sean, and we've said nothing. You're not old.
That's right.
Like, this is what he said to his mom.
Yeah.
We said, she looks younger.
I think we need to.
You got to talk to
No,
her.
I think we need to get Becky over here and
Yeah.
let her
We
take my
definitely
spot
need to get
sitting
her.
here, and you guys talk with Becky for a
Let's
few moments.
Do that.
We can do
As
that.
She can break in and get in here. First, before everything gets out of here, because I was pointed out that the show when we had Marc conversation with Marc, we just abruptly ended our show that quick, and Marc was gone.
I told him that.
Yep. And so she
I
goes.
said all of a sudden, just Mark disappeared.
know.
Nobody said goodbye.
Yeah.
Nobody said
And it was like
deuces.
Joy
It was
and
a
Alan.
great show. And then it was just them two. Voila.
I'm like,
We
wait,
realized
Nobody
it
told
later.
him
my
bye.
We're like
buddies,
this. We better go. Well,
They
that
don't
was
like
Marc,
me.
guys.
they didn't like me.
That was
You were
great.
there,
Gone.
and it was just like, doop.
It was because Marc's conversation was 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and I only
We
could edit so
talked
long.
and talked. We were like, we can't have.
Marc Thomas in the middle, Angela at the end, Joey, myself. We're going to get Becky in here. Thank y'all for coming out and being with us here in Lafayette. We will definitely have all of them back on again multiple times because it's a great conversation to talk about. All right, so technology is horrible when you try to do something outside of this recording setup. So we had to get Becky back on here, even though we've already had her once. You wouldn't have been able to understand her, and you'd have probably turned us off halfway through the interview, the conversation that we had there at Becky's restaurant there. Joey and I enjoyed ourselves thoroughly. So time is we're right in the middle of the show, and so we're going to input us in, and we're going to keep going. So Becky, first of all, tell us a little bit about your ideas on how it all started when you decided to purchase the empty Landry's building there.
Well, it wasn't empty when we got it. It was run by Ricky and Scott Lane, and they wanted to sell it, so we were just ignorant and decided to buy it. And my ex-husband ran it for a while, and then my mom and aunt ran it for a while, and then I came home one summer to run it to help my mom out and to try to sell it. And we were telling all these people, if you do this, you do this, you can make it a successful restaurant. Well, everybody kept saying, no, you're in a dead-end town. There's no way you'll ever do anything, da-da-da-da-da. So I told Mom, I'm like, okay, challenge accepted. So we made a few changes, did a few things, and went full-fledged restaurant and have been successful ever since. I have a marketing background, so I've done a lot of marketing with it, try to reach a lot of people, and apparently it's worked.
That is awesome news.
Well, it reached us, and we were in Middle Tennessee.
Right.
But of course, we're partial to Lafayette, and
Absolutely.
And I was telling someone I was actually in Covington, Kentucky, and someone said, "I heard that you're from Lafayette." I said, "Sounds like you know what you're talking about because you didn't say Lafayette, you said Lafayette," and so we can have a conversation now. But I tell you,
Well,
the
let me
food
tell you.
was good that day.
Phenomenal
The
food.
company was good. The atmosphere is awesome. I love the brick. I'm glad you kept a lot of that natural historic architecture to that building, and I love that you didn't paint the ceiling. You let that texture come through.
Yeah.
So folks need to make this trip down here.
Yeah. We want you
Not
to
only
feel like
that,
home
but
when
you
you
see,
come in.
yeah, you see
Well,
what
you felt
Joey and
like
I
it.
have behind us. We don't have that beautiful backdrop that we had on Saturday, because I'm telling you what, looking at the video that we shot there, beautiful. You also own a national historic place down there as well.
I do. We bought the old Methodist church, which was built in 1852. And we really are trying to restore it. We have bitten off more than we can chew, but you eat an elephant one bite at a time. So we're, carrying on. And of course, the restaurant takes most of our time. And I just decided that I needed something else to do. Again, another ignorant decision. But I think it'll pay off in the end.
So what are some of the things that when you get the Methodist, if the Methodist church was finished, what are just like 2 or 3 of the things that you want to do to the inside of it?
Well, we're currently holding murder mysteries there. We are doing that, and those are a lot of fun. If you've never been to a murder mystery dinner, you need to check it out. We do one about every other month or every couple of months. So we do those there. If it were completely finished, I would push weddings and family reunions and birthday parties and anything and everything, that you would have a get together for. We've got a big room downstairs that'll hold probably 45 people. And then of course the upstairs is gorgeous stained glass windows, wood ceiling, just phenomenal. Would make a gorgeous wedding. Or we have done a couple of singings up there. Mm-hmm. Where we had a group come and they sang. So we've done a few
Good
things
deal.
there.
Well,
yeah, they could certainly be like a bridal shower type place. It could be a softer Becky's tea room or
right.
I do love it. I do. And here's the great thing about it is I saw on your Facebook page where y'all had done the Lafayette, I guess the Lafayette Day down there, and it was kind of fun. I'm looking forward to next year, because I wish I'd have thought in earlier in our time. We didn't start our first podcast until July.
Right.
Of course, it was in Joy and I's mind back in June, but all this stuff that was going on, I'm thinking, oh man, we could be right in the middle of that. Well, guess what? I can't wait till next year.
Absolutely. It's always the first Saturday in June.
Well, we're going to definitely be down there, and
we look forward to it.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely be there for that. So, and here's another great thing Becky has brought to our attention, and I hate that we can't show you what she showed us, but Mr. Smith here was in a beauty contest down there in Lafayette several years ago, and I think he actually won that.
Did win it
29 years ago. We're approaching the 30-year anniversary, and I brought it. I went there and looked around the room to try to figure out who's going to come in second place. And came there to win the trophy.
Yeah, and he did, crown and all.
I love that.
Roy Franklin was the announcer, and and hi Roy, I'm glad to see that you're out of the hospital and doing well. And so those were great memories, and we'll try to share that video. I know that Becky's got a copy of it, and it was one of those Lafayette town hall type events to bring the community together, and it did. And so Lafayette has a proud name, just as proud as the people are there. And so Alan and I want to promote Lafayette to town, and that they have a really honorable name, just as almost as honorable as the people there.
And we were honored to have one of those Lafayette people here with us right now, because she owns a couple of the businesses there. So we want you to get down there.
Becky, while Alan and I were there, Marc, Alan, and I went down to the park, and we talked about how they used to have the tractor pull there, and how they used to have the horse show there. And now we were sad to see that the track wasn't there anymore for the horse show, but I think it would be really cool if one day that could be brought back because it was one of the biggest horse shows.
Yeah.
People came from Clarksville, Nashville. I remember Ebony's time around, that horse that won the national champion for the walk-in horse show was actually in Lafayette. And so Lafayette had some of the biggest walk-in horse shows and some of the biggest tractor pulls. And so we know this place can get back to its heyday.
Back in the late 1800s, we had 10 doctors. So it was
10 doctors.
And there was a hotel. There was a house. I'm not sure it wasn't a cat house, but I'm still working on trying.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, Becky, I can't wait. I hope that book comes out sooner than later because the listening to Mr. Green talk and listening to what you told us, and knowing most of the folks that were down there back whenever. Even in the 70s and 80s, when they still had a lot of heritage there, and the building that you bought, the Landers, I mean, that's been there forever. As a matter of fact, I've got a picture that I'm going to put on the website, and I'm also going to put it on Facebook of one of the what we believe to be the phone number of the facility down there because it has like an LA7 followed by 4 digits. And normally that's a phone number. That's back before there was 7 digits. So, what other stuff do you have going on down there, Becky? That you would like to share with? I mean,
well, we have every Thursday night from 5 to 7. We have schnitzel all day on Thursday, which you can't get schnitzel everywhere. Our catfish on Friday night. Phenomenal. We're one of the few restaurants that still serve farm-raised catfish. So we have catfish on Friday. Of course, our Saturday morning breakfast buffet is phenomenal.
Yes. Awesome. I will tell you that.
Thumbs up.
We won't hold you any longer. We'll let you get to your fun, and I sure appreciate everything you did for us, and I'm sure glad that you joined us for here.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Y'all have a good evening.
Well, thank you, Becky.
Bye.
You have a good one. Bye. All right. Well, that was Becky East, owner of the Brick Oven Grill in Deli in Lafayette, Kentucky. You need to be sure to get down there to visit her. Get that breakfast on Saturday morning. That buffet was phenomenal. Joy and I we ate ourselves full, and I wish we could have stayed for lunch. I really do.
It was good.
Very good.
Like, it was hard to concentrate the rest of the show.
You want to sit there?
And I didn't even want a nap after that. Like, it was filling. It tastes good, but it didn't make you go, oh, I feel horrible. I got to sleep 4 hours. No, I went home and mowed the grass.
Well, you know why you didn't? Because we had Boyd Green on the show, and we're going to show you his bit right now. So watch Boyd Green and listen to the stories this man has to tell.
As we're sitting in here in the brick oven down here in Lafayette, I noticed Boyd Green sitting across the table, so I asked him to come over and talk to us a little about. He knows more about Lafayette than probably any one of us know, or anyone else that's in this facility at the moment.
Yes.
So, Boyd, can you tell us a little bit about what the brick oven place used to be before it was the brick oven?
Well, I can tell you what it was meant ever since I remember it. It was a hardware store, big hardware store, big operation. And I'm told that it was the biggest one in Kentucky when it was built. Of course, it didn't just include this part right here. He had a couple of big warehouses here, and he had fertilizer and sold seed going and some of everything over there, and it was big. And then he had a third warehouse that they used to sell implements back in the year, wagons and farm equipment. And then, of course, all that went with it, and the whole operation possibly could have been the biggest one in Kentucky.
Well,
I'm told it was, but I don't know that. A fellow by the name of James Walker told me that he worked here when he was young and said it was the biggest one in Kentucky at that time. And I didn't really believe it, but after he told me, I knew him, and I said, well, maybe, And since then, I've heard that it really was. I could take it that for what it's worth.
And with Becky taking over the brick oven here, how often do you come down here and embark in the brick oven?
Well, I'm here every week.
Every week.
I won't say, well, so far, thank the Lord, I've been able to be here, I guess, probably every week that she's been open.
Yeah.
And the times that they're open, she'll open Wednesday through Saturday, and then they're off for Sunday and Monday. And I don't come every day, but I mean, I live right down the street here very far. I can walk, ride, or run, or whichever one you want.
Well, I don't believe you're going to be running anymore. Hey, I tell you what, he might not run much now, but he used to outrun me all the time because this man right here introduced me into quail hunting. And I swear, when I was a senior in high school to when I left Flat Lick, I guess in 94 when I got married. 93 when I got married. I did that on purpose, honey. I love you. This man probably walked me 150 to 250 miles.
Well, I think I used to remember when you used to come out of your driveway and drive in to Lafayette when we used to run in and out of here, because I think you're right on the outskirts there, and you used to come in and sometimes you'd get in front of us, and I remember my sister would always say, well, he's not going to go no faster than that. We got to get to church.
Oh, yeah, go and deliver it.
Angela, he's telling your business now.
Well, it isn't very far to where I live. I can walk home and come back.
Yes, sir.
And Boyd, he's the bird hunter of Lafayette. He's walked every square inch of Lafayette, backside of Fort Campbell,
and
climbed every tree in this area.
Gone in every cave. You got it right, Marc.
Might have swam in every.
You did pretty well yourself for the days you were here. You know, you got around quite a bit. But we enjoyed it, didn't we?
We loved it. We absolutely loved it.
One little funny thing I might tell: the old planing mill down here.
Wait a minute. Is it about me?
No.
Okay, go ahead. You can tell it.
You were talking about running. Yeah. The old planing mill had a guy to get killed one night right back where I lived down there, and that was to a kid. That was kind of scary at night to know a man got killed by something came off of a router or actually a planer, because he was doing some planing, and his picture's right up there on the wall behind us now. He's one of those 6 men, Mr. Bourne. I don't remember his first name, but he was killed there. And of course, as a young guy coming up here in town to play fox and dogs like we played till 10:30 at night, you know, kids running and hiding and others looking for them. When it came time for me to go home, I was kind of scared to go down by that place. But along by where the church is there, I'd gear up and get my breath good and go by that plane mill doing about 25, 30 miles an hour.
That's right.
Getting home, I'd slow up when I got past
You're
that.
trying to get home quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. But I've thought about that a long time. That was kind of funny that I'd do that, but I did it every night. I'd run past there. There wasn't no ghost going to catch me. But it a lot of history behind that old planing mill. One of the Bourne brothers there was killed there. And it's known ever since that as the planing mill, even though it's a big outfit down there now, that mowing outfit that's got it. They bought it and everything. But Marc, it's a lot of things that's interesting happened around here back years ago, and a lot of them to me are really just stories that I heard. You know how that goes, how true it is, but. I guess one of the most exciting ones is the one of Dr. Martin across the street here when he had a big shootout with his in-laws and killed them both.
Ooh, Lord.
Killed his mother-in-law and dad-in-law both. They came down he was married to their daughter, and the story goes that they thought he was mistreating her some kind of a way, and they got ready to come down, and he was a doctor, and his office was where Ann Pryor's beauty shop is. Mm-hmm. And they called him and told him that they were coming down to get him, the store. And I think it's pretty true. I know. And so he went home, lived right across the street, and got ready. And when they showed up, it was a big shootout right there.
Good Lord.
And he killed her in the front yard. and the fellow was coming
About
in
what
the
year-
back
about
door,
what year
and
was
he
this?
and he killed the man coming in the back door. They were coming in both doors.
Oh my goodness.
It didn't kill him right on the spot, but he died before they got him to Herndon, and that's about one of the biggest stories. Y'all have never heard that?
No, no,
never.
Oh, Dr. Martin, it's a big story. My dad.
Was it like in the 50s or 60s?
Oh no! It was back before that. It was in the late 30s.
Oh,
it was
okay.
It was in the 30s.
So-
and my dad went to the trial. He was at the trial, and Dr. Martin was well thought of. He was just a regular old country doctor, but he did drink some at night, and they thought he was mistreated. That's hearsay, but he was a good old doctor, and Dad said the courthouse was full of people. Said you stand in the room only. He had to stand up, couldn't sit. And most of them were supporters from Lafayette here that was in support of Dr. Martin.
Yeah.
In case they tried it, but it was self-defense. He didn't get anything out of it, though.
Yeah.
But it's quite a story. I'd hate to have been sitting around out front like we do now when that all went on. I know that.
Yes, sir.
Well, goodness gracious. I guess he was, they came on his property, came in
he
his
was
house.
at home.
Both doors.
And actually, I saw the bullet holes in the door facing because his housekeeper at that time had a son about my age. We were buddies, and he'd take the young boys and his buddies up there and show them in bullet holes. And some you could stick your finger in, buddy. It was some big, pretty good sized guns, and the lady could shoot because she was hitting the door facing right beside where he was shooting out of. So it was close. And I did see the bullet holes, but it is a nice story.
We're going to look that up.
Mr. A.B. Yeah, it is in. I'm not sure what year exactly, but it was in the 30s, and it was a big thing around here at that time because he went on and he was a doctor for a long time after that, and people would fight for him. A lot of people, they were. He had helped a lot of people, and you know how the old country doctors. They might get paid. They might not get paid.
Right.
They might have to take it out and trade hams, chickens,
Yes,
or something like that. And that made them good in the sight of a lot of people, poor farm people and country people. And he was well known and well respected by most people. He might have had some that didn't.
And of course, when you're thinking of before the 1950s, a lot of those hometown doctors, they delivered most of the babies, so they were known for that.
Three doctors were here when I came here in 1940. Dr. Martin, Dr. Roach, and Dr. Garner. Dr. Martin was over there at the little brick house where Ann's beauty shop is, still standing there. Dr. Garner was upstairs over the shop where Doug works on his mowers up here. That was a drugstore, nice drugstore. And his doctor's office was up there, and Dr. Roach practiced in his home down on White Street, not on White Street, on Harrison Street, in the back room. He had an office, and I can remember going there, the first doctor I ever went to, I guess, and I had a bad throat problem, sore throat, and my mother took me back there. Well, by the time he got through with me, he had so scared. I was so scared. I didn't ever have a throat problem anymore. Never had tonsil problem. I heard him say, "Miss Green," when he came out in there. I could hear him. He said, "If this boy ever has that again, you bring me back. We're going to have to take those tonsils out." I remember that real well. I never had any tonsils trouble. Well, he
sound like
scared
me
about
just a little
me. I
bit.
don't know, but that's for sure. I know that I might have had a little sore throat, but I never had much problem.
Nothing
And I
to
always
complain
gave-
about.
Exactly. At least you didn't complain about it, right?
I didn't complain about it. I sure did.
Oh, that's fun.
He was the last doctor practicing here. Dr. Garner went on to Hopkinsville, and his office was over the old First City Bank up there, and I went to him a time or two up there, but he's the one that delivered me in 1935.
Good Lord.
And he drove probably straight down what's back Fort Campbell now, Fort Campbell area, to Saline Creek. And Saline Creek goes out on the other side of Fort Campbell, and my sister and I were born in a big two-story house down there right at the edge, right off of the base. Dr. Garner came down there to deliver me probably on the 2nd of January 1935, and I didn't cooperate, and he done had so much trouble getting down there during January weather, January the 4th, that it was terrible, and he knew he couldn't come back. So my dad went upstairs and fixed him up a room. that they didn't use, and his old grate still left, and he built a fire and warmed it up, and he warmed it up and kept Dr. Garner down there for I believe 2 days and 2 nights waiting, and he delivered me and my sister too, and they named me after him, as well as a lot of other guys have been named after Dr. Garner. Seems like it was a custom back then to name boys after the doctor that delivered them. I knew several Garners.
Yeah, sure.
I could name 8 or 10 around that I know that were named Dr. Garner after their Dr. Garner.
I'll be doggone. That is awesome.
Country doctors were in big demand back then.
Yeah.
Big demand. They had to go out in bad weather. They had to get there the best way they could and get home the best way they could. A lot of it was by horse and buggy, and a lot of it riding a horse or a mule or a mule in a wagon or whatever. And it was some different times back then. But when I came here as a 5-year-old kid, this was an eye-opening place for me because it's so big. And it was a big, nice hardware store. As a matter of fact, right off that wall over yonder, they had a sports department over there.
Yes,
that was
sir.
just like KCO's used to have in Hopkinsville.
Yep.
Right.
Close.
Close.
And I bought the first 6 guns I ever had right off that wall.
Really?
Remington rifles. Started out with the single action, pull it back and cock it back here, and the next one was a single shot right Remington, but you had a safety on it. That was a little upgrade.
Now
The third one was one with a magazine in it. That was upgraded. It put 7 in it.
Yep.
Next one was a bolt action. I put about 16 in it, and the last one was automatic. The first 6.
Well, I remember Mr. Landry because that was our time frame, was when he had the hardware store.
Now you're talking about Jimmy.
Jimmy,
Well, I'm
yep.
talking about
Yes,
Mr.
sir. You're
A.B.,
talking about way back before
Mr.
him.
A.B. and 2 sons, David and Jimmy.
Okay.
And it was a big operation.
And
it
then
made
Jimmy
like
just
3
kinda stayed
families.
through
They
it.
all lived here, and they all made it off the store. And good, they did well until Fort Campbell had just recently took 2 sides off, and that's what had to slip. Their business, declined.
Well, I remember whenever we used to have to, anything you ever needed, I remember Daddy used to always go, we just go down to the hardware store and we get in the vehicle and come right down Lafayette Road. Didn't matter what it was.
He
had
come up
it.
with it. He had.
I don't know how.
I was just telling the guys over there this morning, and it really happened. I had a Craftsman mower that I got from Clarksville from Sears.
Yes,
and
sir.
I broke a belt, and I knew I had to go back to Sears to get a belt.
Right.
I drove to Clarksville and back, and I was up here and telling him, where you been, boy? I said, I've been to Clarksville. I said, I had to go over there and get me a belt for my mower. What kind of mower do you ride? And I said, a Craftsman. He said, wish you'd have come up here. I got some belts here that would fit it, and he did have. I done met a Clarksville. and it was people that would go somewhere and come back and find out Mr. Landry had the same thing here.
Yeah.
But Becky, his daughter, has got a real good story that I got a kick out of, and y'all might, time might be up, I don't know.
No.
Becky, after Jimmy passed away.
Yes, sir.
Becky, his daughter, was the one that had to clean up the place, sweep it up, and get it cleaned up to try to sell. And she told me the story herself. She was up here by herself, sweeping, and everything real quiet. And she said, "Now I don't believe in ghosts." She made that clear. But see, his office was right up over
Yes,
there.
sir.
Yeah.
I remember he used to come down them steps.
And nice little office.
Yes, sir.
Right.
And Becky, she was sweeping, and she heard all of a sudden papers rattling, just like he's going through, just like it sounded. She said it sounded so much like Daddy going through them papers, and she listened and thought, "Oh Lord, what is this?" And she'd wait a few minutes and try to sweep a little more, but I imagine she was hitting a weak leak, and directly it would happen again. There it'd go, trying to find a paper. Just exactly like it. And
Oh,
Becky said,
man.
I got so upset, I just couldn't hardly do my work.
Right.
And she told me, said, I did get up enough to work, enough nerve to finally walk there to the steps and slip up there and look. And she eased up there, looking, not knowing what she was going to see. A squirrel was up on his desk, splashing papers. And she said it was so much like he sounded that it's just unreal.
Well, see,
and she laughed now about it, and she
Yeah.
got it as good stuff.
Well, Joey and I don't believe in ghosts, or we do believe in ghosts, because we're going to go see, for our October podcast, we're going to go up to Adams, Tennessee.
Oh, you're going to really hear
for
some stuff there.
We're going to hear some stuff there. That's what we're...
Bell Witch.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Bell Witch.
I read the
And-
book. I read the book once. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That's what Joey and I are going to do next year. Or
Well,
next month.
you'll enjoy that. And I used to work over there some years ago, and I'd read this book about the Bell Witch, and it mentioned a lot of prominent names in
Yeah.
it that you wouldn't think made up anything. I
Right.
mean, people that were
Andrew Jackson.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
He's in it. And prominent people out of Tennessee that had visited, and it just wasn't something that people would just like that would make up and put in a book.
Right.
But I was mystified, if it's such a word as mystified,
Yes, sir.
about the book. And I had to be over at Adams, Tennessee, a time or two, a week or two there, and I said, I'm going to find me an old man that's been here a long time and find out about this Bell Witch.
Yes, sir.
Well, it wasn't long till I spotted an old gentleman sitting on his porch up off the road a little bit there, just relaxing and swinging. I just jump out of my car and go up there and tell him who I am. Sit down here, talk. He's a nice fella. And we talked a little while. Where you from? And went through all, all that. And then I told him, I said, sir, I've read this Bell Witch book, and I'm concerned. I didn't know there was any such thing as a witch, especially around here. And I said, do you know anything about it? And the first thing he said, son, said, I don't know if I believe in witches or not. I said, let me tell you one thing. He said, it was something that people never could figure out.
Right.
He said, I don't know what it was. And that's the way he left me. It was something that nobody could figure out. And I found another one, the same one, and and the very same thing he told me. We don't know what it was, but it was something. And that book, if you ever read it,
I'm gonna pull it up. And I am.
Pull it up and look. I think Andrew Jackson was riding back the road to the Bell house with horses pulling his chariot. I think the way it read, and no mud holes, or good gravel road, and the chariot stopped, and they couldn't move it. The horses wouldn't move.
Joey and I did some research on that with Andrew Jackson, and when he told me that, I was intrigued, and I was like,
absolutely. They stopped. They stalled the horses. They couldn't pull it, and they sat there a little while, and they heard the leaves rustling out here on this fence road, a little whirlwind type, and heard a laugh that they couldn't describe. A laugh. like that. I mean, they described it as just a laugh of something funny that somebody was pulling on somebody.
Right.
And they tried the horses to move fine. From there on up to the pulling.
Okay, that's going to be fun.
That's strange.
Very strange.
I've talked to William Turner about it several times. He gives that story every year in Hopkinsville. And of course, Andrew Jackson was governor of Tennessee at the time he went up there,
and made it later on.
But he had later been quoted saying, and I'm paraphrasing, that he'd rather take on the whole British Army than the Bell Witch.
It's strange things happened in that era about her. And some more of it, she would pull hair out of some of these people's head.
I've heard of that now.
Pull the hair until they couldn't go to sleep.
On Tennessee Crossroads, they were talking about that.
That type of thing. I don't know.
Well, Tennessee Crossroads had a bit on there where the people would go in there and they'd feel people tugging on their hair and hearing that laughter. And I'm like, okay, that's something. And I've been hearing this for 15, 20 years. But, Joey, he lives real close up by there. So I made a comment to it, and I said, we got to go. And he said, we're going to go.
Probably the most memorable documented story from witnesses was this cat that went up into church one morning on a Sunday morning and sat in the front row. And then later on that day, that cat was out in town, and everyone that was not at church, the cat went in the middle of a group, and they could hear, they don't know if it was coming from the cat, but they could hear this woman's voice shaming these people for not being in church that day, and the entire sermon being recited from the air, from a spirit. And that was like several witnesses that said that. And so like my arms are like going up, the hairs are going up right now. And
Mr. William can bring it back pretty live too. He's good at it. He's done it so many times. He's really good at it. And I really believe he enjoys doing it.
Yeah.
And I know he did back before he was sick. He enjoyed doing it, and especially when he could get the kids down on the front row. He knew how to take on the kids.
I like when he'll say, I pull up my kivers. you know, the kippers?
Yeah.
And the kids didn't know what he's talking about. He said, it's blankets. And but I took his class in Hoptown in college for Western Kentucky history. And that's something I got Alan and Mark and Angela interested in is, let's start telling a story about Christian County and Lafayette. And,
absolutely.
And, you know, we started in, so we wanted to come and do a podcast in Lafayette.
I appreciate you asking.
Well, we appreciate you coming in and
Now, I
joining
have a question. I have a question since we got you here.
Okay.
So you're born in 35.
I was born in 35, January 4.
What were some of the memories that you had from the 40s to the 50s of businesses that were here, people that were here?
Well, I can remember when there were 5 places that sold groceries, 4 stores and a service station that had quite a few groceries in them.
Good Lord.
He had to supply. And then it was four operating. I can remember that, and I can barely remember when it was 2 old general stores here. But they were torn down shortly after I can't remember much about. I remember going in them.
Right.
Big 2-store and big round posts out front, and they sold everything, clothing and shoes and some of all of it.
Yes, sir.
But there were the 5 places that I can remember that sold groceries. There were 3 doctors. There was a funeral home. There was blacksmith shop down the street, 2 service stations, and both of them sold gas and did work. And let's see, 2 beauty shops, and several more. You know, that was right at the time when they had the whole country around here.
Sure.
And as Mr. Lander would always tell somebody, it's 20 miles to everywhere. he says 20 miles to Dover, 20 miles to Hoptown, 20 miles to Cajun.
It's a geographical anomaly.
Yeah, that was a famous.
20 miles from everywhere.
Yeah, 20 miles from everywhere.
That's good.
That's pretty
And that
true.
is why you
That
had
is
so much
pretty
stuff
true.
here.
I guess so.
Sure.
He had customers for everything he had, coming from every direction.
Yes,
And
sir.
as automobiles got
There
better,
was some
businesses
automobiles. Yeah.
started slacking off.
Yeah, a few horse and buggies around.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting place, it really was. And you know, we just got to talking about it was down the road here. It was a Brame fella. His name really was Urban Brame, and he's buried out here at Powell Cemetery. That made it in the big leagues. He pitched for Pittsburgh for years, and he got a big marker there for him now. But for a long time, I didn't ever see a marker. Just a minute. He pitched for Pittsburgh for a long time, and some of the people last night were talking about him. They couldn't remember his name. He went by Beck Brame, and he was a famous fella from this area, and he's buried out there. Nobody could have come up with a name, and I remembered his first name, but I had a terrible time coming up with it. It was Irvin, Ervin, Urban Brame, and he's buried out there. And they grew up around here playing country baseball, and he was good. And he was counted at one time, so I have heard, to be one of the best fastball pitchers in the major leagues.
Nice.
And what I was interested, what I really got a kick out of, I was told by people that knew, and Dr. Williams was one of them that kept up with him and how he went and everything, old Dr. Williams here. And he said that after he retired from pitching, that they kept him on as a pinch hitter for a while because he could lose a baseball. He said he was known to knock them completely out of the stadium on certain occasions. He was a good enough hitter that he's made it 2 or 3 more years as a pinch hitter, and he's buried right out here. And they had 3 brothers, according to Dr. Williams, that were good enough to all have made it if the other 3 had wanted to leave home, but they didn't want to leave home, and Beck did.
A lot of folks didn't want to leave home back in those
That's
days.
exactly right.
You know something, Alan and I were talking about this because Mark and I both are graduates of Austin Peay.
Oh, are you ready?
And I was telling Alan that if you Google and look up Austin Peay, the governor of Tennessee, that he was born in a place called Garrettsburg.
That's not far out here.
By Hal Grocery, where Hal Grocery is over at the end of
right
Body
close
Road.
to Garrettsburg, right there.
And you know, I was telling someone it'd be great if like Christian County Historical Society would put a sign or a marker that said "Birthplace of Austin Peay, Governor of Tennessee."
The last time I saw it, they had a big sign of Garrettsburg.
Yeah.
You could see that, but it wasn't.
But I don't think a lot of folks know that was, I guess, a train station came through there, and people would stop, and that's why Howell Stores was there.
Different world back then.
And
117 Highway was a railroad bed too. It's a railroad track from Oak Grove to over yonder on 68, Gracie.
Yeah.
And 117, and that was a railroad bed, and it was known as a railroad bed for years after we moved. That's what everybody, until they got started calling it the 117 Highway.
Right.
It was a railroad bed. Everybody here knew where you was talking
Well,
about.
we learned that we had a vice president that was from down here,
Adlai
Stevenson.
Yeah.
And Adlai Stevenson happened part
He
of the
visited
Stevenson.
our school when I was in school. I saw him, and
That is awesome.
Uh-huh.
We were doing
We're
all
like,
kinds
there's
of.
a vice president
Well,
that's from Lafayette.
well, he had relatives around here.
Yeah.
He had, I think Miss Jessie Harris was maybe related to him. I'm not sure about that, but I think she was. And it was some more people that were related to him, and he was.
Mr. Bourne,
Yes,
I
and
appreciate you
yeah.
coming out here and telling us.
We've
Yes,
enjoyed
you're
it.
welcome.
Folks, this was a great show, and just like I promised, we saved those one shining moments for you. It's not Luther Vandross singing at the end. It's Ben Rector. And some of these are
Ben Rector.
highlights that did not make it into the show because we had some audio difficulty. But we replaced these great shots, some of these great conversations with some great music. So
No doubt.
follow us on YouTube, like us, share us. We're on every social media. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify. We're on your podcast apps. Take care
And we
of one
love
another.
everyone that follows us, and we'll be there for you forever, and we'll try. As
Enjoy
Joey
this
said,
right here.
I still find Wiley's house, riding on my bike with eyes closed. I could name every girl that he took out, and from my memory dial his house phone. Can you take me back when we were just kids? We weren't scared of getting older, yeah. 'Cause no one knows you like they know you, and no one probably ever will. You can grow up, make new ones, but truth is, there's nothing like old friends. 'Cause you can't make old friends. I still feel the windows down, listening to Jimmy Eat World, riding 3 wide on Blake's bench seat, yeah. My God, it's been 10 years now. I would have his back tomorrow, and he'd still fight anyone who tried to touch me. Can you take me back when we were just kids who weren't scared of getting older, yeah. 'Cause no one knows you like they know you, and no one probably ever will. You can grow up, make new ones, the truth is there's nothing like old friends. 'Cause you can't make old friends. I've got some good friends now, but I've never seen their parents' back porch. It wouldn't change how things turned out, but there's no one in this time zone who knows what inline skates that I wore. Can you take me back when we were just kids who weren't scared of getting older? 'Cause no one knows you like they know you, and no one probably ever will. You can grow up, make new ones. But the truth is that we grow up, then wish we could go back then. There's nothing like old friends, 'cause you can't make old friends.